Will you please join me for the pledge?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much. Okay, beginning this evening, I'm going to read our policy number 1230. Thank you for coming this evening. The Board of Education encourages public participation on school-related matters at board meetings, as outlined in this policy. To allow for public participation, a period not to exceed 30 minutes shall be set aside during the first part of each board meeting for public comment, with priority given to comments on items on the meeting's agenda. The second 30-minute time period will be set aside at the end of each board meeting for public comments on matters pertaining to the district, but not on the agenda. These periods may be extended by a majority vote of the board. Persons wishing to address the board shall advise the board president prior to the scheduled start time of the meeting. The request shall be made in writing on a form provided by the district and shall include the name of the speaker, the address, telephone number, name of the organization represented, if any, and a brief description of the topic to be discussed. Presentation should be as brief as possible. No speaker will be permitted to speak for longer than 5 minutes. The board will not permit in public session discussion involving individual district personnel or students. All speakers are to conduct themselves in a civil manner. Persons making presentations at a board meeting will address remarks to the president and may direct questions or comments to the board members or other district officials only upon approval of the president. If you would like to address the board tonight, the forms are on the table by the door. Please complete them, give them to the district clerk, Ms. Pena. Also, as a reminder, guests at board meetings should be prepared to wear masks and observe all social distancing protocols. At this time, I need a motion to enter into an executive session for items pertaining to personnel.
Motion.
Pat, second Brent. We're going to go to room 48. Is that where we're going?
No, somewhere down the hall.
Or what? We're going somewhere down the hall. So we'll be right back. No items of correspondence. Public comment session for items that are on tonight's agenda. Mr. Curry, you signed in to speak? Are you? Okay. Okay, thank you. Okay, presentations and guests. We do not have any presentations and guests. We're at the superintendent's report, but we're gonna skip ahead. When Dr. Silver comes back, he'll do his report. Item that the board wishes pulled from tonight's consent agenda. Are there any items?
G.
Remember, that's G. We're just pulling it to vote separately. It's not gonna be pulled collectively from the agenda.
Well, I pulled it out of the consent agenda.
Yes. Right, so Brent needs to vote a certain way, but he doesn't want it to affect the consent agenda, so that's why we have to pull it separately. Okay, you pulled it out, so I need a motion in a second. Motion Pat, second Aaron. Any discussion? We can, so motion Pat, second Aaron. Correct. And then we're gonna jump back to you, Dr. Sullivan. Any discussion? All right, please proceed to vote.
I did refresh.
I apologize, Norm. I have to refresh my computer. That's not even showing as live.
I have to close completely out of it. Bring it back up.
Okay, that is unanimous. All right, next, so we are going to go back to item G. So do we need to split both positions, or we have to vote separately, or can we do it collectively and then Randy can vote one way or the other?
Right.
Or Brent, I'm sorry, Randy.
Yeah, just do it.
Yeah, the
Just-
majority, and then you just review.
Okay. Okay. All right. So maybe I'll do the others on there.
Barbara Thompson, or you can.
Okay, so we're gonna do Barbara Thompson first. Yeah, can I see that? I'm sorry. Be it resolved, the board appoints Barbara Thompson to be elementary school substitute teacher, aide for 2021-2022 school year. I need a motion and a second. Motion Pat, second Aaron. We can vote by hand, correct? Please proceed to vote yes by raising your right hand. That is unanimous. Next, be it resolved, the board appoints Leonore Egan to elementary school substitute teacher, teacher aide for 21-22 school year. A motion and a second. Motion Aaron, second Pat. Any discussion? Please proceed to vote yes by raising your right hand. Any abstentions? That is approved. Thank you for your patience, everybody. Okay. All right. Dr. Silver.
One second.
Okay.
Okay, so a few things. Yesterday was the first day of school. Everything went by and large pretty well. Teachers were excited to see kids. Kids seemed very happy to be here. Parent drop off. We had about 75 cars yesterday dropping off and picking up kids, so that made the beginning of the day and the end of the day very exciting. We made some changes today in the way we stacked the cars and the buses. And everything went perfectly for dismissal, so we were pleased with that. Enrollment attendance was down. The enrollment numbers were 901 kids, so 459 in elementary school, 442 in secondary school. Actual attendance yesterday, I don't have today's numbers, were 431 in the elementary and 396 in the high school for a total of 827. So about 92% attendance rate. So this first week of school, there are kids who moved out of district that you don't know about. There are other kids who move in that you hadn't planned for. So I'll create a little forum and keep you posted on all of how those trends are. So we're down. It looks like we're down from what we thought we would have. But I mean, very different from by the time we get to next week. Everyone also knows about our unfortunate lockdown drill that occurred. It was our maintenance crew was working on the vestibule. They thought a line was dead, but it was live, and that's what caused the issue. It was completely an accident. Certainly created a furor everywhere, but we're certainly sensitive to that. But I think we got out of it as quickly as we could and addressed it as best we could at both schools. So anyway, we hope not to do that again. Virtual meetings, which the state had allowed up until June or July. We can do that again if the board so chooses through January. So if we have to go back into virtual mode, we can, or if the board wants to go back into virtual mode, you can.
In the past, that's kind of an all or nothing. If a board member, say, is under quarantine or something along those lines, are they able to, as an individual, participate remotely?
Like we are here in person.
Right.
And not one
If I was
person
under
virtual,
quarantine,
right.
Could I?
We
goes back
couldn't
to your board-
vote.
It goes back to your board policy.
Yeah.
If your board law allows for a remote entrance to a meeting by a board member.
But you have to post your location. That's
Yeah,
the
you
way
have to post your
policy
location.
is,
People
so-
can show up at your house.
Right.
And watch you, watch TV with you. But that's really what, I'll check the board policy and see what the
Okay,
policy
okay.
says. 'Cause that's what that is.
In a pinch to get a quorum, that'd be a good avenue to have.
We'll take a look at that. We talked about this a little bit earlier. Bus drivers, there's this huge shortage of bus drivers in the county. It's national if you read the paper. Rolling V has put us on notice that there's a shortage of drivers for sports programs. That's going to take some creative work by the athletic directors in the county and actually in Section 9 to do some rescheduling and reshuffling to try to get as many games in as possible. Because the 2:30 to 3:30 dismissal time, every driver in the universe is employed. And so early games, that's enough time for the bus to get back to do dismissal, whether it's our district or another district. And the same thing with late dismissal. So that's supposed to be a challenge, and I'm sure we'll probably all hear complaints about that, about cancellations and other things that'll happen, so.
So we have that little white bus. How many athletes can we fit on that small white bus that we have? Not enough to fill up the team.
Most of the time for like a sporting event, depending upon which team it is and the amount of equipment that they have, we've done it for tennis. We've done it for a couple of special ski events. I think the golf team one year utilized it, so it it's a 12 to 15 passenger vehicle, but depending upon the equipment that's needed.
Anyone driving?
So you do not require a CDL, and the difference between that bus and the yellow version of it. This bus cannot stop and release students on and off the road. It's a point-to-point transportation thing. We usually look at the drivers that we've had that have been staff members only, clear their license, they get a little check on how to operate everything, wear instruments as much as that, and it's been successful. I mean, Tara Baresic uses it a lot for some of her trips, so it has been worthwhile as a bill.
If this is gonna be a prolonged, problem, I wanna see our athletes compete. As a tradition, Tri-Valley parents travel very well. Would we be allowed to take our own children to events so that they can then compete to lessen the burden on if there's 3 or 4 kids who don't have a ride, that we could get away with the small bus? Is that something, maybe that's something we should consider. I know in the past, that's never really been a thing. You've always had to come to school and travel as a group. But if it's going to become an issue where kids can't compete, I don't want to see a season lost. The bus driver shortage, from what I've heard, is pretty significant. So, just get out ahead of it if we can.
They're using personal cars as an insurance issue.
It's a liability.
But if I were to take my son to, say we were playing at Onteora on Saturday, if I took my son to Onteora and other parents carry sons on the team, same idea. And for the few kids who would only be able to get to the district, they rode on the sports bus.
Sure. You can check on that.
Just
Or even sign a waiver, like,
Yeah.
I can't sue the school if I'm in an accident with my own kid.
Well, typically the way the school insurance works would be, your insurance would be primary and the school insurance would be secondary anyway.
Okay.
But we'll check and see. We'll
It's
talk
just
to the
different
attorneys and
ideas,
talk to-
just
to,
Out of the box. Yeah.
Utica.
And Bob, can you look into the possibility, what if we were to purchase another small bus or a transit style bus for coaches to transport their own athletes?
I'll look into it. My first gut reaction to that is the last one took 4.5 months to get. But I will look into it.
Just exploring different avenues. I mean, it's going to affect our clubs as well, FBLA, FFA, to go to their events. So I don't know, Matt, if you guys utilize that small white bus, but Tara uses it all the time to go to FFA events. So it's going to affect many different.
I'll open up the possibility of looking at, is there a pre-owned one that's relatively young in age? I tend to that, but I'll investigate what I can.
It doesn't have to smell great. It's fine.
That's not nice.
Interesting.
The capital project, when you guys did the walkthrough 2 weeks ago, you mentioned the school would actually look like this today.
progress.
We've made progress, still a lot left to do. The flooring for the science room is supposed to be in next week, I think. And that'll get done pretty much as soon as it's in on a Friday night. So Saturday and Sunday to gas off and ready to be used on Monday morning. At least that's the plan. The cabinetry, the case woodwork in the elementary office and nurse's office is almost all in. That's supposed to be completed on Friday afternoon and Saturday. We do have second shift workers in the building. That's why we couldn't be upstairs, because the plumber's upstairs working in the library tonight. The elementary school kitchen, all the equipment is in. The plumbing and electrical is almost all done in there. There's the pulled down gate is what they're waiting for. And so the question is exactly when that will come in, because for the health department approval, the ceiling has to be sealed up. So if they put the ceiling all the way in, they'll have to tear out the soffit to put the gate in when it comes. So it's really, it'll be a game time decision about whether they build the soffit, tear it out later, or the gate will be in time for them to install that. What am I missing? The upstairs gym is done except for the emergency lighting. So that's usable. The floors are good shape. The proscenium was painted. And so that's good to go. And then we have our favorite doors that are right behind us. The lead time on that, the rest of this glass in the door for the security vestibule is due on September 20th. So once that's in, they'll install that as soon as that gets here. The main entrance brick is supposed to come on the 20th, and the install for that will be the 27th. So by the end of the month, the brick that has to be in place before the storefront can be put in should be completed. Then we get into the curtain wall and the storefront, which has lead times that they're saying probably November 1st, all of that stuff. And since they have to blow out the front, the existing glass curtain wall to put in the new one, that's going to open the building to the weather, amongst other things. So I'm guessing that won't get done till Thanksgiving or Christmas. But right now it's usable, it locks, it unlocks. The security stuff, the technology is in place, so we're better than we would have thought. And one of the things about capital projects is I've spoken to Dave, the architect, and he can't come to our next board meeting. You may remember on our last walkthrough, we talked about getting a start on talking about next summer's work, what the board wants to do with the approximately $5 million that's left that was approved by the community. And but his own kids open houses that night, so he's preparing some materials for us to look at, and we'll schedule a special meeting or something to spend some time with him, just to get that kicked off, because that just the conversation takes time. And what else? The State Department of Health is requiring all staff to show proof of vaccination or be tested weekly. You remember in the past I told you that our Department of Public Health was issuing an RFP. They're weeks away from choosing a vendor at best, but there's a company that is approved by the State Department of Health and is fully funded by federal money. So they do pool testing and individual testing. So they do the nasal swab, not the bad one, the easy one. And so everybody swaps twice. One goes in the pool container, one goes in the individual container. So the pool testing ends up being positive, and individual tests that they can do right there. They guarantee a turnaround of 24 to 36 hours. They say they're actually doing closer to 18 hours on average. FedEx does all their pickups and deliveries, so it's pretty well down pat. The consensus among the superintendents in the county is that all of us are going to go with the company's Affinity. So we're going to all go with them. It takes them about 2 to 3 weeks to get things set up. So we can look at that. So what we'll start with is asking staff members to show proof of vaccination, or they'll be tested when those kids come in, which will probably be in about 3 weeks. And then one other thing that I want to spend a few minutes on with you is we've made some revisions to the plan, reopening plan, and I just want to go over them quickly with you and get some feedback. It's a red line version, so it's easy to find the changes. First change is on page 4. And then that's to do with testing stuff that we need to do and masking. And I know mask breaks are a big issue. The state says that thou shalt wear masks indoors. Those are plastic copies.
These are not very good copies.
Well, the stuff that's crossed out, that's in red, that's hard to read, is stuff that was eliminated, so I can read that. We provide mask breaks outdoors. Jen and Dave both are putting together plans to do that. Jen will do it on a class-by-class basis, Dave's going to do it on breaks.
The paragraph before that, that's addressing the COVID, is that the COVID testing?
13,
Yes.
but that's added, I'm sorry. Cross out red, or deleted. 13 says Tri-Valley Central School District will require that all faculty and staff, including all teachers, substitute teachers, student teachers, school administrators, paraprofessional staff, support staff, and bus drivers be tested for COVID-19 at least once per week. Teachers and staff may be permitted to opt out of mandatory weekly testing if they provide documentation of being fully vaccinated against COVID-19.
So it doesn't address pool testing or anything like that, it just says
Just be
tested.
tested. The method is pool testing, and an individual could follow up if it's necessary. Masking requires all students, employees, and adult visitors to wear a 2-ply face covering. And that will provide mask breaks only outdoors as circumstances allow, and that's what Dave and Jen are working on. So there's the changes there. On page 5, there's a new section added on coordinating with the Sullivan County Department of Public Health. And that's, they have a 3-page procedure on how to do contact tracing and notification. So I didn't want to, it wasn't my point to put in that whole 3 pages in here. That's in, on the end as an appendix. The county department also established a number that's reserved for school nurses, because part of the problem is called DPH, and you leave a message and no one was able to get back to you. So now establish numbers, they said they're going to check messages regularly, and we'll get back to us right away. And the temperature screening we added, not doing temperature screening for kids. On arrival at school, if staff members concerns about the child's health, the child will be sent to the school nurse for assessment. Page 7. We just want to highlight the exception that the State Department of Health made for K-12 students for social distancing was appropriate. And the little piece underneath that just clean up under what to do, we just eliminated something that was redundant.
Under what to do, the first bullet point says stay home for 14 days. Should that be 10?
This shows up in different places in different ways.
Okay.
So what's going to happen is DPH will tell us how long the kid needs to stay home. Needs to stay home. Because that's the whole 3-page trail that we have to follow if someone's tested positive.
So should that say 7 to 14 or per Department of Health? Because right now it reads as like mandatory 14. Just curious if you.
I don't know. Let me just mark that and we'll check.
Okay.
If you go down into the next, right at the bottom of page 7, page 8, follow the recommendation from your local public health department if you need to quarantine options. They will consider stopping quarantine after day 10 without testing, or after day 7 after receiving a negative test result. So it's sort of in there. It's just going to be, this will be a case-by-case basis, I think. On page 12, there are 2 changes. One is that bus drivers and monitors shall show vaccination will be tested weekly. Rolling View would prefer that to be done in their shop, but more likely the testing will be done here, and they'll be responsible for following up, or at least on who's vaccinated and who's not vaccinated. So, and then all the way at the bottom of the page is the probable pickup issue. I'm not even sure we changed the drop-off time earlier at 7:15. There's bottlenecks, and at the end of the school day, we say change the times a little bit as well. It's after the buses that you can't, it's literally what we do today in work. On page 15, on continuity of learning, bottom of the page, we added a whole bunch of stuff that for students who are at high risk medically will participate in remote online learning model. It'll be individualized for their particular needs. That'll be an IEP committee or 504 committee's decision in helping to make those plans with the family. Pre-K and K kids who are quarantined, homesick, we offer 1 hour of tutoring daily, get them simultaneously access through Seesaw. Grades 1 through 6, we offer 2 hours a day, up to 2 hours a day, with assignments being available on either Seesaw or Google. And all tutoring times are arranged between the family and the tutor. In secondary school, basically the same thing, 2 hours a day, arranged between the tutor and the family. Page 21. This is contingency planning. This is in the special ed section. So what will happen is one of our classified kids need services, but there's our services and related services. Just details again how that's supposed to happen. And on page 33 and 34, which is the secondary school section, they just clarified again that instruction will occur if kids are out. And no space also as well. So.
One thing I have a question about, at some point last year, I believe we made a switch from if a teacher had to quarantine and their students attended school here, the students would then have to quarantine as well. We moved away from that, correct? Towards the spring of last year? Okay, just making sure that's still the case, because that was not something I thought we needed to do.
Again, that's part of the change to the State Department of Health as well.
Okay.
As long as everyone's masked and maintains social distancing, then you don't have to be quarantined at all. So the teacher's 6 feet away from the kids, which they're supposed to be, and the teacher's wearing masks, or is vaccinated, and the kids are wearing masks.
Right.
Then that whole quarantine thing is what you did last spring.
What I was referring to was, Mrs. Shilley, if she had the quarantine, she had no symptoms, her children would then be excluded because she was under quarantine. But thankfully, we moved away from that this spring.
Right, yeah, and the DOH guidance, you don't have to do that.
Okay.
So no tertiary, right? It's only immediate exposure, right? Not
Exactly.
tertiary.
And then going back to page 15 with the tutoring, I am slightly concerned about the students only having access to after-school tutoring if they're missing 7 to 10 days of school. So I'm hoping maybe we could look at that again, 'cause-
On both elementary and secondary level.
right. That's a lot of missed,
We were
and they're
not,
not gonna be able to make that up.
we were not acting upon this tonight. These are just updates that you've made thus far.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I think what Aaron's saying about, re-examining that would be something I'd be in favor of. Especially at the secondary level.
Even at elementary.
And we don't allow volunteers anymore due to COVID, right? And that, especially like in elementary level, usually have volunteers. There are no volunteers at the current time. Do you anticipate there being volunteers this year in the classroom?
I'm not sure right now, we do have the student teachers that are.
And they would fall within the same mandates for testing and for
Yes.
vaccination?
Yes. Yeah, I would never think of student teachers as volunteers. I guess they are sort of. Yeah. But right, that is explicit in the state language that they're included, so.
Okay.
Testing for vaccination.
Anybody else have any other questions or concerns? When do we need to act upon this to adopt it or make it official?
I think the next meeting. That's what- We will take another look at the tutoring piece. And that's it, unless you have anyone else has any other questions either about this or anything else.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Silver. We do not have any board committee reports, right? The policy committee is not meeting attendance. I think the audit committee will probably be meeting shortly, Bob, correct? Is that usually
We're
in
hoping to
October?
do September 23rd. More definitive timeline will come probably in the middle of next week.
Old business, there are no items for old business. We're to public comment session for items that are not on tonight's agenda. Mr. Curry?
Yes, first thing I'd like to say is, I can't hear anything you're saying. You should give this man, the superintendent, a microphone or something like give the report. Because I heard page 21, page 22, and I hear a few things that sound really crazy. Like, the kid is out for 10 days, they have no education for 10 days. Is that what I'm understanding?
No. The policy, what was just read, the potential plan, the potential reopening plan, it's a potential adjustments to the reopening plan. Nothing has been set in stone yet. Anything that was discussed tonight is going to be reviewed by the board and then addressed and discussed at the next board meeting. So there's no changes that have been made to our reopening plan that's on our website. That is still the same. The next board meeting, there could potentially be changes made to the reopening plan, but this was just discussion. There's no changes that have been made as of today.
What about getting some kind of microphone or something? We have millions of dollars in technology, and I can sit here and I can't hear what anybody's saying.
All right, we can look into that for the next board meeting.
I would appreciate that.
I'll try and talk about it.
Were there any other items, Mr. Curry?
No, there probably would be if I heard what you said.
That's why we would talk quietly.
Norma, did anybody else sign in to speak? Is that it? There's nobody else, right? No.
No.
Yeah, the other one is taken care of. Okay. Okay, announcements, reminders, upcoming events. Mr. Pulley.
Okay, we have changed the date of our open house because of conflict with the board meeting. So we have moved it from the 23rd of September to the 30th of September, and that will be from 6 until 8 p.m.
And that's for 9 through 12, correct?
Correct. We had a very good turnout for our 7th and 8th grade open house. Quite impressive, the number who were here that evening. And I think it's a good opportunity to share a lot of information with parents and in some sense to relieve some of their fears about kids returning to full-time instruction. So, opening yesterday, it was great to see the kids back in school and to see the classrooms go. We know that we've got some work and reconnecting with kids. That's really a goal for us this month of September. In a fall edition of a magazine called Fresh Bites, which is put out by the New York State School Nutrition Association. We had a wonderful 2-page spread on our farm to school and all of the activities that we've done and how we've supported the community through our community garden.
Very nice.
I'm sure that get supported on you guys as well.
Thank you.
But between Tara and Ashley, despite everything, they do a fantastic job pushing forward. We did mention, extracurriculars, FBA, FFA. The plan right now is to, allow them to participate to the greatest extent possible and hoping for live meetings for students. We should be kicking off, extracurricular activities in clubs, probably very shortly, a lot of this after-school support as well.
Quick question for you, Mr. Pulley. Homecoming, what are the plans? Are we going to be able to do a dance bonfire? Some of those type things with homecoming. It's coming up earlier than usual.
Yeah,
so.
6 weeks ago, I had a wonderful plan for homecoming week until this wonderful COVID hit. My hope was to reevaluate as we get closer to it.
Okay.
The real challenge is, given the restrictions, to try to hold any kind of a dance.
Right.
Where kids could enjoy, it would be very difficult.
Okay.
Looking at, potentially bonfire and some outdoor activities we can. But in fairness, I've been very careful not to put, a lot out there because I don't want to disappoint kids.
Understood.
Continue that pattern.
Right. Good.
So, we do, Jason and I have worked on a homecoming week. We will have school Fridays and things like that. We would want to do it.
Thank you.
Do you have anything else, Mr. Pulley?
No.
Okay.
Thank you.
Mrs. Kelly?
I don't have any announcements, other than it's been a great few days to have the kids back. Wonderful.
It's great to have you back. Ms. Williams?
It has been great having him back. We knew it was a successful day when some of our pre-K kids had to carry out because they're sleeping. So we knew we did our job. Wonderful having him back. It's nice to have all the classrooms nice and full. We started our grade level expectation with our their expectation meetings today. We'll be finishing those up tomorrow. There's a review with the students, all of how we expect them to behave, including all of this health and safety guidelines that we need them following. Students did a wonderful job of wearing their masks when they were indoors, enjoying their time outdoors and outdoor learning spaces yesterday and today. They certainly have been practicing and accustomed to the idea of having to wear their masks, so that was not a challenge for us. We're very happy about that because we want to be able to keep our school open as long as we can to keep everybody healthy. We too had to make a change to our open house schedule. And all call went out yesterday, as well as all the changes have been posted. We'll be sending them a half sheet with the updated dates, but for our purposes this evening, September 21st will be our open house for grades kindergarten through grade 2. And September 28th will be our open house for grades 3 through 6. Our open house time runs from 5:30 to 6:30. So we're doing everything to publicize those changes so that everybody can plan accordingly.
Do you have anything else, Jen? Were the kids able to use the playground this year?
Students have been on the playground today. I took a vote who had a great time playing on the playground and everybody raised their hand. So we're in a good spot. They're happy, we're happy.
Good deal.
Thank you. I don't think there are any other announcements, any events. All right, new business. Be it resolved, the board certifies that the following administrators are recertified as evaluators of principals for the 21-22 school year. Prior to evaluations being conducted, the training was completed through Sullivan County BOCES on August 30th, 2021. It's Dr. William Silver and Deborah Kelly. I need a motion and a second. Motion, and Randy.
Well, I've been contributing,
I
but you.
can't see you, I'm sorry.
It's like,
Any discussion?
maybe I
Please
need
do
a
the vote.
microphone.
Yeah, you do. Stop pushing.
Is that unanimous, Lorna? Thank you. All right, proposal for continued employment of students throughout the 21-22 school year. Be it resolved, the board approves the proposal for continued employment of students throughout the 21-22 school year. I need a motion and a second. Motion.
Yeah, for the IT.
For the IT department.
Oh,
So that
Here's
works just for IT
So we have one.
and business office.
and the business office? Okay, I need a motion and a second.
Motion.
Motion Aaron. Second,
Second.
Randy. Any discussion? Please proceed to vote.
I will abstain on that.
Patrick is abstaining on that one. That was unanimous? Or was it unanimous? I'm sorry, it passed. Thank you. Feels like it's been the longest week in the world. Okay, so next we have appointment of substitute foreign language teacher per diem, Maribel Turbush. Resolved upon the recommendation of the superintendent of schools that the Board of Education approves the appointment of Maribel Turbush to a substitute foreign language teacher position per diem. Per diem rate will be $500 a day, not to exceed 19 days. I need a motion and a second.
Motion.
Motion Pat,
Second.
second Aaron. Any discussion? Please proceed to vote yes by raising your right hand. That is unanimous, Norma. Okay, at this time, there's no need to go into an executive session, so I need a motion and a second to adjourn. Not everybody at the same time. Aaron and Randy, please proceed to vote. Thank you, everybody, for coming out this evening. Let's continue to be safe and have a great school year. Have a nice night.